We started a behavioral health cooperative. And quite a number of you here, I see that Dee made it, aloha Dee. She's a shareholder in the behavioral health cooperative as well. We got together, 23 of us, and we ended up buying a anybody heard of CrossFit? CrossFit, yeah. So the CrossFit gym, kind of extreme exercise place. And we bought a CrossFit gym, and we said we're going to make it into a cooperative. We tied up with our local Medical Doctors Association, and then we were able to actually test this concept of how to make something work. And it took us 2 to 3 years, but we gradually are figuring out what makes for really good bylaws, your operating documents, for your consumer cooperatives, and we've been playing with that. So then we go to that next step, and we said, well, we want to make it right, Lynn, vertically integrated, right? A vertically integrated cooperative. How can we get our growers, if they have greenhouses, or if they have land they want to grow tea farms on, or if they're a processor, or if there's a tea shop, there's resellers, wholesalers, there's online retailers, restaurants. How do we go about and get all these people around the table working with us, and how do we get them vested in our success? And the best way to do that is get them to be shareholders in your organization, which is what we're doing. Because I've noticed people, if they pay for something, they're vested. If they're getting something for free, they say, I'm all behind it, I'm really excited about it, and nothing really happens. So it's so important to get people to reach into the pocket and invest. So now that's what we're doing with this whole IT cooperative. So we went ahead and we raised $100,000 from 9 of us, because we really believed in what we're doing and we had the right mix of people. And we put that together. That was our first round offering. It's kind of like in venture capital, the first round. And then the second round is where we're just getting started with that. We're offering $300,000 in shares. So we raised $100,000, got this thing up and running. It's been 9 months, 10 months, 11 months. Yeah, since we first incorporated, something along those lines. Now we're raising our $300,000, and one share is $200, and you can buy just one share, or you can buy, we prefer 10 share minimum, and you have that opportunity of that 8% dividend, but that's kind of down the road. That's when the organization is successful, but we've done something kind of innovative. It's called a stock split. And a stock split, we did this with the sake business that I was involved with. What happens is that at the end of the second round, when we've raised the $300,000, now, for example, you two, you invested $1,000 each, right? So at the end of that, when we raise that $300,000 and we close that offering, we get ready to do the third round, which will be $1.5 million, we do a stock split which doubles the value of your shares on paper. So $1,000 goes to $2,000. $1,000 goes to $2,000. We're able to double that on paper. Of course, it's not cash. It's on paper, but it's rewarding those of you, those of us who got involved early on in this business, because it's risky. At the beginning of any new venture, it's risky. And the first round is the riskiest. And then the second round is a little less risky, but it's still risky. By the time you get to the third round, it should be pretty stable by that point in time. So we use these stock splits to help reward those people who participate in the first round or the second round. This is something I learned in the securities business. No guarantees or assurances. But this is kind of what we're trying to do. This is what we're planning to do. Is we're planning to help people with the stock split be able to double the value on paper. Of course, later on, when you pay the dividends, it's not based on how much money you invest, it's based on how many shares you have. So I'm expecting the shares, because they'll actually get cheaper, but we'll have more shares out there. I believe that we'll have a $50 per share price in our third offering. An 8% dividend is $4 per share. Well, if you are able to double the number of shares, triple the number of shares, quadruple the number of shares through these stock splits, you'll be able to benefit more by receiving more, but you're not receiving an outside return. You're receiving up to an 8% dividend. So anyway, looking at all those different things, I've been talking talking with Teresa about it. Teresa's going, man, I don't understand. And she's going, I've never heard of a cooperative like this. But she says, boy, it sure solves a lot of the problems we have with cooperatives. It solves those problems, which is getting a reward for those initial investors that matches the risk that they're taking in. So if you're interested at all, you reach out to me via email. We'll be happy to work with you. All those folks who bought tickets here at the $250 level, you can convert $200 into one share. Of course, we'd love you to have more shares, but you can be thinking about that. But this vertically integrated, not-for-profit, it's funny, right? They say not-for-profit. So if you're trying to sell product, right, and you're a not-for-profit and you get a for-profit, trying to sell the same product, which one are you going to buy from? The not-for-profit or the for-profit? I think you're going to buy from the not-for-profit because it sounds like it's much better. So not-for-profit means you're simply running a cost. But the definition of cost is really big when you read the regulations. And so we intend to run this at cost. We intend to make sure we can do an 8% dividend. If we make any additional profit, that gets distributed back to the shareholders or gets put into a reserve for that rainy day when you run into that inevitable challenge. But I think this vertically integrated, not-for-profit, consumer cooperative model is a fabulous model to be involved with, and we're pioneering it here. And I think that it's something that, well, obviously I'm sold on it, but I'm hoping that you guys would like to be part of what we're doing, and I think we're going to have many, many more people get involved with what we're doing. The final note is that, as my younger, wiser brother knows, I don't like to think too small. Our father always said I was the maximum, he was the micro. He's the one that has way more money because he's much more frugal and is smarter about what he's doing. But I've ended up developing a lot of things in my life and having a lot of experiences. And one of the things is that I've learned the licensing business. The licensing business is a very, very profitable business to be involved with. So how does a Hawaii Tea Cooperative get involved in the licensing business? Simple. The Hawaii Tea Cooperative is going to be developing a lot of innovation, a lot of stuff which can be called intellectual property, IP. That intellectual property can be licensed to other cooperatives who tea cooperatives that want to do the same thing that we're doing. Because it's so much more valuable to have someone teach you how to do something rather than going out and making all the same mistakes that we made as we're developing this. So we're going to have that ability to license the intellectual property, which is just another revenue stream for the cooperative here. So we've got 3 revenue streams. Number 1, we've got cooperative farms that we'll be developing here, 10 acres or 20 acres out there. We're planning to put in, we're planning to do some other farms around East Hawaii. Then we're going to be contracting with other people, other landholders, to be able to provide services to them so that they can develop their own farms. We're going to be having our processing facility right here, and we're probably going to have multiple processing facilities and base yards. And then we're going to be doing some direct sales directly to the end consumers. And we're also going to be doing this intellectual property licensing in the future. I think from a business developer that that's a model that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, Len, I'm not going to... You got it now? You got this... It's a not-for-profit, vertically integrated, consumer cooperative. It's a Hawaii Revised Statute 421C. Thank you very much for participating. I think, is lunch ready to roll?
I think so.
We have a quick question.
Do the growers need to be a cooperative?
Absolutely. The growers need to be a member of this cooperative. So we're not going to do business with anybody who hasn't invested. Oh, and I should also point out that we've had 2 different commitments from Japanese investors to pick up the maximum is 19%, $95,000. So we actually have that $300,000 in the second round. We have $95,000 being picked up by one investor to be doing business with us, $95,000 by another investor. So there's roughly $100,000, 500 shares that will be available, and then we'll be going into that third round. one of the things that we're doing with the outside, tea farmers, for example, people have acreage, is that we will be charging, they have to buy a certain number of shares, like $1,000 per acre, and then they have access to the services that this cooperative will be providing, which is your site planning, your nursery growing, taking the tea, doing the planting, doing the actual harvesters that we will be doing with the Kawasaki people. We'll see that after lunch.
Will investors then also be able to have a lower cost for purchasing the tea, or will that be part of it? Will that be part of it?
So all that is stuff that we work in, very flexible in doing that. And basically, it's a chance for all these individual businesses to be able to work together with the cooperative, sharing resources back and forth. And everybody's getting fairly compensated and gets a fair return for what they're doing, but we dramatically lessen the risk. Because if you know anything about the tea industry here in Hawaii, it's all hand-plucked, and they're all teeny-tiny farms, and some say they're making a lot of money, but it looks like a whole lot of work to me. It's much better for everybody to work together. This whole concept of together is better, 100% believer in that. Do we have lunch ready? We do? Okay. Well, there comes Takeshi, just comes right in, and he's
10 minutes. By the time we actually do bathroom break, we get up.